Alright folks, got us the 02 Honda. It's a Passport. It's got the big 3.2. I don't see much Honda about this thing. It looks like a GM. Really, when you look under the hood, it looks like it's got General Motors computer, and I think it's made by Isuzu. So I don't really know what we're working on. Long story short, as they like to say, the guy's money light is on, and naturally when I go out to get it, the battery's dead, of course, like 90% of what I work on. So I threw a jumper on it, got it inside, put the charger on it, set it to nuclear, let it boil the battery for a little while, and see what we have. The engine light was on though, which is great. Of course, the monitors are all reset. So whatever it is must be a hard code. And I believe it was a P0502 for vehicle speed sensor. I did notice when I zipped around the parking lot and pulled in, the speedometer did work though. So that's something. And that's all I know. And I put it on the lift, but I assume we're gonna have to get under it and find some wiring and figure out what's going on here. So here's the code, the 502 vehicle speed sensor circuit low. I did go in, I'm just in generic data because I think the OEM stuff was really kind of wacky. I hit the wrong button, so it's going to spin here forever. But I went into the live data, went to vehicle speed, and that stayed at 0, despite the fact that the speedometer did go up as I traveled inside. So let's get a wiring diagram and see if we can't figure this thing out. Found a diagram right in service data, which was great. In service data, obviously, is where we found it. But under the P0502 there, I had it pulled up there for us. Power, ground, signal, so it's a Hall effect. And I also read in service data that it is supplied 12 volts but puts out a 9-volt signal. So that's also good to know in case we need to, you know, inject a signal into that wire. So I would say first thing first, I just kind of glanced through some of this. I say we go right to this little guy, see if we can find it, identify it, and you know, I assume it has a new sensor. 90% of the stuff we get's already had, you know, the parts can unloaded on it. So let's just make sure we don't have a bad sensor, see what the wiring looks like. You know, do we have power, ground, do we have a signal coming out, or is that signal short of the ground, and then go from there. Let's see. Okay, so that's the little guy right there. So we've got black with yellow. What's that? Is that a... Oh, okay, yeah, so that's already got some kind of funky wire splice on it. Somebody's been fiddling with that. Black with yellow, red with black, and black. Let's go see what our colors here were. Black with yellow, black, red with green. So, all right, perfect. Let me get you guys set up here and we'll see what we have. Can't unplug it. I'm not sure what he's got going on here. Looks like the tag end of another wire sticking out of the speed sensor. What is that? I see the car does have some aftermarket gizmos on the inside, so aftermarket remote start, of course, which sometimes taps in the speed signal. Get that thing out of there. It looks like they just cut into the harness to put some kind of extension in there. What we're looking for right now is we're going to be checking for power and ground and pin fitment. Looks like all these pins have had something jammed into them, so that's good. Right? So there, looks okay. Let me go grab a test light, folks. So our red wire, it's actually red-green. Oh, maybe it's red-black. And black is supposed to be our ground. Let's just see if we have power here. We do. So we have lots of power. So that's good. So I grab some low current test light here. So there is our power and our ground. And I'm going to go from our power to our signal wire and just make sure it's not short of the ground, and it's not because it doesn't light up. So there's regular ground, there's our signal. So that's interesting. It's not short of the ground. We do have a good power, good ground despite all the, you know, Mickey Mouse stuff down here. Let's instead of running it, well, I guess we could run on lift, right? Because we got the key on. I got it in park. I guess we could put it in neutral. If I can reach that. Yeah, we can put it in neutral down here. We can spin it and see if we have any signal being output from this sensor. And then kind of make an assessment from there. Yeah, the connector looks like, say, it looks to be a bit of a mess. Get it plugged back in. We'll tag right into the signal wire here and see what we have. And we could have just a simple stripped out gear where it goes into the transfer case there. All right, we're gonna come up and tag into this ground. Say the wires are already pretty well screwed up here, so I don't feel too guilty about this. Tap into the signal wire. That vehicle that just drove by, that thing ain't got no problem with a speed sensor, I'll tell you that. There's that. So, we are sitting, looking at the U-scope here. About 14 volts, because we're 2 volts per division, and our graph's all the way up at the top. So it's interesting because it's supposed to be a 9-volt output. I'm just going to take and unplug this. I want to see if we're putting out 14 volts. It is not. It's putting out unplugged. It's got a bias voltage on that signal wire. So unplugged, we're about 4.5 volts. I don't know if that's focused there or not, but we're sitting about 4.5 volts average on that. So it's kind of weird plugging in, like I say, according to service data. You know, we're supposed to have, 9 volts, but I guess it's sitting there at 12.9, I guess it would be, is what our average voltage is here across the top of the screen. Okay, let me pop it neutral. We're going to give her a little twirl around, see if anything changes. Pop the little shift lever off down here. Put her in neutral, or at least not in park. I'm going to change my time basis on the scope here. So what's interesting is, I don't know if we're supposed to have the bias voltage on there or not. So we're going to put 200 milliseconds per division. I'm going to take and give this a twirl. Okay, yeah, so we're getting a 0. We're getting, a bit of a square wave on there for turning it real slow. So let me put some more time on the screen here. So I'll put a second on there. So it looks like the speed sensor is able to function. We do have an output signal from it, albeit not 0 to 9. Okay, we're looking more like 0 to 12 volts. So that's interesting in and of itself, just because service data did state, the 9 volts. But I'm not gonna let that hang me up too much. We just need to see if this signal is making it to the PCM, because it's kind of curious that it's here. We'll come back and fix those wires, don't you worry. It does, if the signal wire was shorted, obviously we wouldn't have any signal. We would have lit a test light. So it appears that we have what we need here. So that's kind of interesting. Let's follow this harness up and see if we can't find where it goes to the PCM. So this is a little bit interesting. Initially I was looking at just a colored wiring diagram here, and I noticed pin 27, like I said, was our vehicle speed in to the PCM. But then I noticed this splice over here that goes up to the speedometer, or the gauge assembly. So I was like, well, that's weird, because our speedometer works, so our wire technically is good from here, where it goes over to the speed sensor up to the cluster. So it must be from this splice to the PCM is where it's having its issue. Doesn't mean the wire's bad, it just means that's where we're having an issue. But see, look at this here too. I look at an OEM diagram, because color wiring diagrams don't only give you half the story. So we have our splice S144, our speedometer works, so we know our speed sensor is good, power and ground there is good, obviously. Our wire is good for all the way up through here. So we have a suspect area from the splice over to here, but we have this connector C125, which would probably be a good place to go. I don't believe these are interactive. Let me fiddle around with this and see if we can't figure out where this stuff is. Connector C125 pin 13, because we can make a test there. That's going to be great. That'll tell us what we need to know. So I gotta see about getting these links working and figuring out where stuff is. I think I got us some stuff, as we mentioned. Good from here to here. C125 is our next easiest spot to get to before it goes to the computer. Of course, the computer's right here, and this computer in GM land was a disaster. These things really had a tendency to get corroded. I've yet to, unhook a connector. Obviously, people have been here. Things are busted and stuff because we're always the last place to ever get the car. C125, there it is. And it states that it's blue. It's in the left side of the engine compartment. So I'm assuming it's one of these guys down here. Blue one, left side of the engine compartment. Somebody's already had this one off. But there's that. And it says 16 pins, so 2 rows or 4 rows of 4. There's 4 rows of 4 on that little guy. In pin, what number was it? 13, I think it said. Yeah, 13. Black, yellow vehicle speed sensor. So there's that. Let's see if we have our signal there, and then go from there. What side is the learning side, or side that goes down to the trainee? We'll figure that all out here. Okay, comes out of the speedo. Okay, and then into that and out of that and over to the PCM. All right, well, let's find the wire and get it probed in there and just see what we have right here. It's right on the corner, which is awesome. We're just gonna leave the connector right there. We're just gonna back probe it if we can. So you can get my fingers down in here. That feels okay. If we don't have a signal, we'll fiddle with that some more. We should have voltage here, right? Because we should have the same thing we had down there. And it looks like we do. Let me get our meter turned back on here. We'll turn that on. Our volts average is 12.7. So same thing that we had down there, about 12.8 volts, and that's, oh geez, I didn't realize that's so zoomed in. So that's coming across the screen there. So I'm gonna put a little more time on the screen because this time we're not gonna spin the wheel. We're not gonna give it a handy. We'll just, well, I guess we could do key on, engine off, and then just spin it. So let me raise the car up here a little bit. We'll stick it in neutral, and then we'll just spin the wheel. I lifted the vehicle up. I set it down on a block wood there because it's an open carrier. This way we'll make sure we're spinning the drive shaft keys on. It's populating across our screen. We'll come over here. We'll give her one of these. That should be twirling our drive shaft, I think. I didn't see it, but I assume it is. Oh yeah, look at that. We have speed signal right there. Here we can do this differently so we can all see it. We've got it set up on the meter there. Yeah, turning it slow. Let me see. Enhance. Let's see if I can hold this still for you. And I'm going to turn the wheel and we can see it populating the screen. So that's good. What's that tell us? That tells us we're good to that connector. Well, on enhance, dude. So we'll let the car back down. So we need to see if the input's making it here. And then if it is, then well, we either got a bad PCM or some other anomaly. All right, so that's good. The only thing, I guess one thing we could check is we can make sure that our signal is coming out of the bottom of that connector. That would be the next wisest thing. It doesn't look like anybody's fiddled with this. One of the few things that hasn't been touched yet. The thing that worries me, like I say, ECM connector. Is this one loose? This one is loose. That one is tight. That's curious. Because I'm sure this has been fiddled with. That's kind of the sucky part, that we're always the last resort for people to bring their cars, so we always kind of deal with things like this. But That's interesting that that's loose. I wonder if this is our wire. Here's a black with yellow right here, but that's in pin 40. So I don't believe that's it. I don't even know if this is the correct connector. I'm gonna go ahead and shut the key off because these are pretty notorious for corroding. We're just gonna give it a quick visual inspection. Oh yeah, that one was quite loose. Yeah, that one's not tight at all. So neither one of the pins are tight. Their connectors are tight. Not that you have to crush some things down or anything, but we're just gonna have a look-see. So the other things that can happen here is pins can be bent over. So that one looks pretty clean, so that's good. That one is loose all the way. I imagine if this was loose, it wasn't making connection, we'd have more than just one problem, but best I can tell with my old eyes that the pins look good in there. There's no corrosion, so that's good. We just want to have a look at this, just kind of some visual now that we have an idea what might be going on. Don't see any kind of monkey business or any pins pushed back. Let's find the wire, the black with yellow stripe. I think it was pin S. Is that S something? I think S27 or I don't know if it was on this diagram. It is. It says 54 vehicle speed input S27. I don't know what the 54 denotes on that diagram. But S27, so I'm assuming pin 27. A lot of times like these inbred vehicles here where it's, you know, half Honda, half GM, half Isuzu, service data can be really sucky. Let me just see if I see a pin 27 right off the bat on this one. I do. Let me just see what color it is. 27, 26, 27, black with yellow. Okay, so that's a pretty good coincidence, if you believe in those. Do you believe in those, Miss O? Never believes in a coincidence. So I'm gonna take and finish. This was already mostly broke. Actually, yeah, it's got, two, well, 3 out of 6 of the tabs are already broke. So we'll plug this back in, and then we'll back probe number 27 here, black with yellow, see what kind of signal we have. If we have our square signal here, we can only assume at that point that, you know, the PCM is bad. If we don't have a signal here, then we have a broken wire from this blue connector to there, which would be really bizarre because this harness looks pretty well intact. Got it plugged back in. I'm going to use a Pomono. We're going to very gingerly pierce that wire. PCMs, I'm always a little apprehensive to back probe. A lot of wires there close by, you cross a pin, things can get kind of stupid. So we're going to avoid stupid. We're going to hook this up. Of course we have no voltage. Let's turn the key on. That'll be our first indicator. Oh, hang on. Excuse me. Sucking in that one. Here we go. And look at that, we've got nothing. Whereas we should have, oh, maybe I had background. Okay, never mind. Everybody needs to calm down. Why do we have frequency up on the screen now? Go back here to our monitors. We want volts, average. Let's make darn tune here we have a good ground. Should be going over to the battery, but I'm not. And oddly enough there, it's 11.1 volts. Okay, I think we were running around 12 and some change prior. I guess we can carry on our same tests that we were. Let me raise the vehicle back up, put it back in neutral, and see if anything changed. Let me just scoot you back here a little bit. Let's put a lot of time on our screen here. All right, 2 seconds per division. Let's go back here and give the wheel a kick. And then let's go up here and see, do we have any signal? And we have absolutely no signal. Interesting. Let's unplug it here from the PCM. Let's plug back into the blue connector. Trying to give it the one-handed handy here, but I'm not real good at this. Come on, baby. There you go. So I probe back into pin 12 there, I guess it was. And now wait for our average voltage. You can see our voltage is higher than it was at the PCM. Okay. Wait for that to populate here across the screen, and our average voltage will go up. It's because we have so much time there. We can just change the time. You know what time it is? Let's see, yeah, so our average voltage is about 13. So now if we go back and give the wheel a twirl. Twirly, twirly, twirly. We should have some speed signal. And we do. So what's that tell us? We have a problem, obviously, from that connector, possibly in that connector, to the PCM. Pop the blue connector up here, because the next logical step, because it seems pretty silly if this wire has got something happening between here and, you know, here and here. I assume it just goes in the harness and goes up here, which it doesn't look like anybody's had their fingers in it. So I pulled this blue connector loose here. And what we will do is we're going to give her a little poke on the bottom. We're going to back probe into the opposite side of it here. So this is, we don't even really need to spin it because we know we have a voltage loss. There's some kind of resistance between here and there. That may be in all the way. Let me just probe it here. Nope, it's not. I'm going to just try to get beside this connector. There we go. And there you can see where, I don't know why this, so this is interesting. It doesn't save, I just updated this and it doesn't save my previous monitor setting, which I had on volts average. So volts average 12.8 on the back side of that connector. So that tells us our connector is good, because when we go to the PCM we only had like 11. Now we have 12.9. What the frick? Let me pull out my back probe. Oh, you know what? Let me slow down. Let's get some time on the screen, boys. I think we might have got it. Let me get rid of our monitor up there now. Sorry. The AES Wave U scope is super duper handy for anybody who's thinking about buying one. Do it. All right, so I got a lot of time on the screen. When I pulled this out, I swear I saw that flicker down. Ah, look at that, boys. You see the little glitch right there? See how she dropped down? Let me try to wiggle this more. So I'm plugged into the PCM, okay? There it is. So I'm holding the connector funny. Our voltage dropped down. Oh, what? What? Oh, there's your problem, lady. Oh, now your problem's fixed. Boom. Our problem's in this connector. What do you know what you say, huh? Turn the car off best we can. We still have it neutral. Look at that. It was a no part. I didn't even push the button and she popped apart. What do we have here? Oh, it's got like a seed or something in there. Maybe it's a marijuana seed. Yeah, this looks like this thing may have been disconnected for a period of time. Let me move you around. Let's see if we can have a look-see. There's some dirt and crap in there that I don't think we just got in there. You see? Hints. It's got a little seed in there or something, probably inhibiting it from being plugged in all the way. And is that seed right where? No, our wire's over there in that corner. Well, let me give this a little toot with a blow nozzle. Probably spray a little contact cleaner in there. Yeah, because it doesn't got junk in it. And I think we'll be good. Look at that. Easy fix, baby. We gotta go do a trailer inspection here for a guy. I'm gonna take and give her a little douching of the DX B5. Let her sit, tour around, blow her back out, plug it in, we're out of here. Go, now she clicked. See if we can't stick these all back together now. Get the green one up on there. Get the blue one, and then somebody had this white one down. I don't know if it's broken. We'll see if we can't stick that back there. Let's go ahead and fire it up. I got it raised up a little bit. I'm just going to drop it and drive. We'll see if we have a speed signal at the PCM now. Key must be off right now. I must have shut it off. It's set. Alright, so I put it in drive. Let's see. There we go. So we have speed signal now that we can see right there. Oh, it's electronic throttle. We can't do anything with it, but let me grab the scan tool. We should have speed signal now. We'll jump into live data. Before we didn't have speed signal here, but we had it on the speedometer, so we'll go speed. Oh yeah, look at that. 0, 20. So there, you can see we have speed signal now. Run about, 6-7 miles an hour. Here. We'll go give her a little juice. Yeah, so we went off our chart here a little bit. Frequency increase there. But there you go, that's it. It's all fixed. Easy peasy, baby. Alright, well at least that was an easy one. It's too bad somebody shot the parts cannon at it and frigged up all the wiring, because now you got more problems that you didn't have before. We're going to go through, or I'm going to go through, going to cover up my little hole pokes here. Of course, these Pomonas, or however you pronounce it, wire piercers here, these things are ultra fine. Let's see if I can find a link for them. The little needle that comes up there is ultra fine, and you just got to get it in just past the insulation. And oftentimes when you take it out, the insulation kind of self-heals, especially if you just hit it with a lighter. And sometimes it's very difficult to find where you poke the hole in it, unless you really give her full beans. But I'm going to go through and fix that. I'm going to put this cover on the best that we can, get the PCM put back, and I got a couple poke holes underneath I'm going to fix. And then we're going to ship this thing down the ROAD. Let's just do a quick recap, folks, make sure everybody's on the same page. There's our speed sensor. Our initial process from the beginning was to check to verify that we had power, which was coming right from this relay, which was fed from a 30 amp fuse. We had good power and good ground because we could light a 5 amp test light. And then our next thing we did was we checked to make sure that we had signal coming out. Now the only anomaly there was the service today said it was supposed to be a 9 volt, a 9 volt square wave. But we seen that it wasn't. We seen that it was 12 volts or closer to battery voltage. So that's neither here nor there. And then the big clue should have been looking at this and seeing how this works. You know, how this signal comes out, goes to the speedometer, and then it comes out and goes to PCM. The big clue was the speedometer worked. When I pulled the car in, the ECM was staying at, you know, 0 mphs, regardless what speedometer said. So with that being said, we could have made the assumption that this is good, this wire is good. Our problem is on this leg somewheres. We could have done that without even getting under the vehicle and making any tests. However, the tests we did under there were pretty quick, so it's not too big a deal. And then we checked this connector right here, the C115. We had a good, you know, waveform on this half of it, but when we checked on this half, you know, we saw that we had some voltage loss, and which was kind of bizarre. I think what we did, if I remember correctly, is we checked it on this side and that was okay. And we checked it on this side and it seemed okay. And then I remember checking it at PCM and all of a sudden that was okay. And I'm like, hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right. Because a minute ago, that was not okay. And then when I pulled this back probe out, all of a sudden this flickered a little bit, and that's when we discovered where the issue was. So hopefully it all makes sense. Pretty simple circuit, easy diagnosis, and I just hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I enjoyed it. The only thing I don't 100% enjoy is when the car comes in, it's already botched up. Somebody's already been there, they've already put the sensors in, they've already cut all the wiring, they've already tried everything. It just gets a little frustrating sometimes because it makes my work look like a bunch of hackery, you know, because obviously there's going to be other stuff that's going to fail as a result of people getting in there and meddling with things they ought not be meddling in. I'm not saying don't try and fix your car yourself, but I just wish that once in a while one car would come in that was a virgin. It wasn't already at the other shop and already molested a whole bunch of times before it got here. That's the only thing that kind of stinks, but it is what it is. I'm always people's last option. Which I don't know why. I'm not overly expensive. Actually, usually my repairs are a fraction of the price of what they paid at the other shop to get all the guesses. You know, they say good work isn't cheap and cheap work isn't good, right? Anyhow, how about you guys be good to me and go in that comment section. Questions, comments, concerns, the Insta, the Facebook. You guys know what to do. And while you're down there, make sure you subscribe, ring the bell, all this stuff. And just remember, viewers, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.